It's nothing I can say to make you believe. Yeah. Man, ain't nothing I can say. It's nothing I can say to make you believe. To make you believe. What if I told you that I was the son of God? Would that be easy to believe, or would you make it hard? And I finally learned the difference between wise and smart. When I say we bless people, they say times is hard. And all I can tell them is they ain't never lied. Reincarnated, I'm back like I ain't never died. Man, I won't say it if it can't be verified. Niggas say they soldiers, when war starts, they terrified. I'm about to let it ride, bringing back the pride of black skin, cause they ain't got a clue what's happening. And we still...
When we out here, let's get it down. We already know what time it is, and we gotta understand something. If you are black, Hispanic, or Native American, you are God's chosen people. That's right. God chose you. That's right. He loves you. If you are Latino, if you are Mexican, El Salvadorian, right, Peruvian, Puerto Rican, all right, Costa Rican, Cuban, Dominican, you are God's chosen people. That's right. If you are from the Navajo, the Iroquois, right, from the Blackfoot or the Creek, you are God's chosen people. Right. If you're the Negro starving in the ghetto, living in the ghettos of Norfolk, in Port Smith, or Chesapeake, or even in Suffolk, or Newport News, or Hampton, you are God's chosen people. And that's something we have to understand, man. We suffer in America. Blacks, Hispanics, and Latinos, and Puerto Ricans, and Cubans, we suffer in America. We're mistreated in America. We are terrorized in America. Why do you think we're dying on the borders? Why do you think we're dying in the borders in Texas over there? Being murdered on the borders. Mexicans are being thrown, our children, man. Mexicans are being thrown in dog cages, man. In INS detention centers, separated from families, man. Why is that? Why is that, man? Because we're being oppressed in America. Give me Matthew chapter 1, verse 21. You got that?
Come, sir.
We about to learn, man, something about Christ, man. We're about to learn who Christ came for, man. Christ came for the Mexicans, man. Christ came from the El Salvadorians, man. Christ came for those Puerto Ricans, man. Christ came for them Cubans, man. Christ came from all the Latinos and Latinas, man. That's who Christ came for so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Right. The book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 21. And she shall bring forth thy son.
It says she shall bring forth thy son. Who is that she? That's referring to Mary, man. Now I know all the Latinos and Latinas, we know how we love to worship Mary, man. We know how we love to worship Mary as if she's the God, or if she's the most high power. But we about to learn what Mary actually did and what Mary's really about. Mary isn't someone to worship if you're Latino. We're not supposed to worship Mary. If you're Latino, if you're Puerto Rican, if you're Mexican, you ought to worship the God of the Bible, man. We're not here to worship Mary, man. We worship the God of the Bible and follow Christ. Come on, brother. Go ahead.
Come, sir. And thou shalt call his name Jesus.
Who?
And thou shalt call his name Jesus.
His name is Jesus. His name is either Jesus, or in the Latinos are known as Jesus. It says what?
And thou shalt call his name Jesus.
And his name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai. His name is what?
Jesus.
Go ahead.
For he shall save his people.
It says what?
For he shall save his people.
He said, the Lord said in the Bible that Christ, Jesus, is supposed to do what?
For he shall save his
what say?
For he shall save his people.
The Lord said Christ is to save his people, man. His is a possessive pronoun, man. That's what his is. That's ownership. There is a particular people Christ came to save. Now, here's the question. Why did Christ come to save blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans? Why do we need to be saved? Because so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in America and throughout the entire earth, we are in danger, man. We are in danger. That's the reason why Christ came to save his people. If you are black, if you are Hispanic, if you are Native American, you are in danger. We are in danger. How are we in danger? Right? That's the reason why we're on the borders and being murdered and raped and molested and taken away from our families, man. Right, we're in danger like George Floyd, like what was that? Auntiana Jefferson. We're in danger like Mike Brown and like Eric Garner and Trayvon Martin and Akai Gurley. We're in danger by the NPD like Xavier that was murdered and gunned down on 64 in around Richmond off of 64 in the state of Virginia by the state police, man. We are in danger in America, man. We are in danger. Puerto Ricans, we are in danger in America, man. If you're Dominican, we are in danger in America, man. We're the ones being terrorized. We're the ones being harassed. We're the ones in poverty. We're the ones being murdered. We're the ones being stolen from. We're the ones being thrown in prison and getting 20 years to life without parole. We're the ones thrown in jail. We're the highest in the abortion rate. We're number one in HIV and AIDS. We're number one in all diseases, man. We are in danger in America. That's why Christ came to save. Go ahead.
For he shall save his people from their sins.
From their what?
From their sins.
From their what?
From their sins.
From their sins, man. What is a sin? A sin is literally the transgression of the law, meaning we are breaking the law. We are in danger because we are breaking God's laws. When you break God's laws, you open up an opportunity of us being in danger. When you go ahead and go to that 4th of July, wait, Salaki, I'm not even going to use the 4th of July. We in the month of May. Let's talk about Memorial Day. When we get that Memorial Day cookout, right? When we go and celebrate Memorial Day, the freedom of our oppressor, right? And we go ahead and spark up the grill, and we get them baby back ribs, and we throw that good old pork on the grill, right? This is opening up an opportunity of us being in danger, man. How are we in danger by throwing pork and some baby back ribs on the grill and then chopping it all up? Listen, high blood pressure is real. High blood pressure is very prominent in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. Heart disease, MS, gout. These are all diseases that come from eating pork, and the diabetes, dying from diabetic strokes and heart attacks. These are all opportunities of opening up Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans going into danger when we sin against the Lord. When we steal, when we murder, when we kill, this is opening up an opportunity for us to be in danger. When we steal from each other, that opens up an evil spirit to come on a brother and murder you and kill you because you stole what was his.
That's right.
We are not to steal from each other, nor are we able to steal from anyone else.
That's right.
We are not to murder each other. We are not to kill each other for no reason at all, or whatever reason you thought was right. We are not to do it. This is why Christ came to save so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in America. Bubba Kwashai, give me Matthew 15 and 24, man. If you are so-called black, man, if you are Native American, if you are Latino, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, El Salvadorian, Peruvian, Brazilian, you are God's chosen people, and you are to come into the I.S.U.P.K and learn the truth about God, man, and learn the truth about this Bible, and come back to your original culture, man. If you are from the Iroquois or the Navajo, if you're from the Creek or the Muskegee, if you're from the Seminoles, if you're from the Blackfoot or the Cherokee or the Mohawkins, you are God's chosen people, and Christ came for you.
That's right.
Christ came for us. Christ died on that cross for the sins of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You were probably taught in that Christian church. No thanks to the Christian leaders over the black community. No thanks to the Catholic leaders over the Latino community. No thanks over the reservation leaders over the Native Americans. We don't know who Christ came for. We don't know who Christ died for. Well, the I.S.U.P.K under Commander GEN.YAHANNA is to teach so-called blacks and Latinos and Native Americans and Nativos Americanos that Christ died for you.
That's right.
That Christ died for us. You got that?
Kawakar, sir.
Go ahead.
The book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
You said what?
I am not sent.
He said, I am what?
I am not sent.
It said, wait, start from the top.
But he answered and said.
It said, and he answered and said. He said, he answered and said. This is talking about Christ. And Christ is about to say something.
I am not sent, but unto the lost
sheep.
sheep.
I am what?
I am not sent.
What letter of these, what's the color of these words, man?
It is red, sir.
When these colors are in red, that means this is coming from the horse's mouth. Meaning this is coming from Christ himself. And Christ said, not your Christian pastor. It said what?
I am not sent,
But meaning rather. Go ahead.
but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Who?
But unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Cubans.
But unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Puerto Ricans.
But unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
The Dominicans.
But unto the lost sheep of the house of
The
Israel.
Mexicans.
But unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So-called Negroes.
But unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
The Latinos.
But unto the lost sheep of the house of
The
Israel.
Nativa Americanos, the Native Americans.
But unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Christ said out of his own mouth that he is sent. He said, I am not sent, but to the what?
Unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
But your Christian pastor, your Catholic priest is telling you that he came for everybody. But Christ said out of his own mouth, and these are his words, out of his own mouth, Christ said what?
But I am not, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
To the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's who Christ came for. That's who Christ was sent for. Who are the lost sheep of the house of Israel? If you look at this sign right here, it will tell you who the lost sheep of Israel is. If you are a Negro, if you are black, so-called black, if you're Puerto Rican, so-called Puerto Rican, so-called Mexican, so-called Cuban, so-called El Salvadorian, Peruvian, and Costa Rican, man, so-called Panamanian. You are God's chosen people.
That's right.
Christ came for you. He was sent for you. But the Catholic priest is telling you in that Catholic church to worship Mary and God loves everybody. Your Christian pastor and your bishop and your ministers and them deacons and them bishops are telling us that Christ came for everybody and God loves everybody and we are to hold hands at the table of brotherhood and all this nonsense, man. But the Lord said out of his own mouth, Christ said out of his own mouth,
but I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
that he is not sent anywhere else but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Did it say the Africans?
The house of Israel.
Did it say the Nigerians?
The house of
Did
Israel.
it say the Guyanese?
The house of Israel.
The people from Ghana?
The house of Israel.
Did it say the Polish?
The house of
The
Israel.
Irish?
The house of Israel.
Europeans?
The house of
The
Israel.
Russians?
The house of
The
Israel.
Chinese?
The house of Israel.
Stop Asian hate?
The house of Israel.
Japanese?
The house of Israel.
Vietnamese?
The house of Israel.
The Koreans?
The house of Israel.
Said the house of Israel, man. Being an Israelite is a nationality. It's a nation. It's your race. That's something that we have to understand. That's something that needs to be understood. Go ahead and give me Amos chapter 3 verses 1 through 2. All right. That's something that needs to be understood. That's something that needs to be understood, man. Being an Israelite, coming from the house of Israel, it is a race. It is a nation. It's who you are. You can't just become an Israelite. You can't just be like, oh, I'm an Israelite now. It's your nationality. You have to be born an Israelite. Your father has to be an Israelite. And what you do makes you an Israelite. These are all key examples. These are all key points what makes an Israelite.
That's right.
It's your race, it's your nationality, it's your heritage, it's our culture. If you're Mexican, you're an Israelite. It's our culture, it's our heritage. That's who we are as a race of people. Don't allow your oppressor to tell you who you are. You're not African American. You're not so-called Cuban or Puerto Rican. You're not a so-called Negro. Last time I checked, in the 60s, man, so like in the 40s, we were known as colored. So how the hell did we become African American? We were once colored. So how are we African American? What's colored? What race is colored? What country is colored? Where is it at? Where? You tell me. Nowhere to be found, because that's not who we are. Don't allow our oppressor to tell you who you are. You're a goddamn Israelite. That's who God said who you were. That's who we are. Go ahead.
The book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you.
It says what?
Hear this word.
It says, hear this word, meaning open up our ears.
Right.
Hear this word. Use the ears. Hear this word.
That the Lord has spoken against you.
That the Lord is speaking against you, man. This is the Lord talking. This is the God of the Bible letting you know something. Meaning these are not my words. These are the words of the Lord.
Right.
This is not coming from me. This is coming from the Lord.
Right.
This ain't coming from any other person but the Lord.
Come. O children of Israel.
Say what?
O children of
I
Israel.
thought about everybody.
O children of
I thought
Israel.
it was about them Koreans.
O children of
I thought it was
Israel.
about the so-called white man.
O children of
Like
Israel.
your Polish.
O children of
Like your
Israel.
Swedish.
O children of Israel.
Like your Russians.
O children of Israel.
Like the people from Moscow.
O children of
It
Israel.
said the children of Israel. That's a nation.
That's right.
That's a race of people. That's a group. That's an ethnic group.
That's right.
That's what it is. It said what?
O children of Israel.
Go ahead.
Against the whole family which I brought up.
It said the whole what?
Against the whole
The
family.
what?
The whole
So
family.
being a nation is a what?
Family.
Being a race is a what?
Family.
Your family is the race that you come from.
That's right.
Your family is the nation that you are from.
That's right.
Don't allow some devil, don't allow some ignorant pastor or some bishop or some minister tell you that everybody's your goddamn family.
That's right.
Not everybody's your family.
That's right.
You have a family that you're born into, then you have a spiritual family that you're born into.
That's right.
Don't allow everybody to tell you who your family is, because everybody is not your family.
That's right.
Not how can everybody be your family? Last time I checked, family doesn't murder family.
Right.
Family doesn't put your family into slavery.
Right.
And doesn't bring you over miles and kill the miles over the transatlantic slave trade, over the Atlantic, and to murder you and to molest you. Family doesn't do that.
That's right.
That's not what family does to family. Family's supposed to take care of family. It says what?
Right. Against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt.
Out of what?
Out of the land of Egypt.
The Lord is specifying in the Bible. The Lord is being real specific in the Bible of what family and what nation and what race that he is referring to. And what nation he is talking about. It said what?
Of the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt.
Who was brought out of the land of Egypt? Was everybody brought out of the land of Egypt? Was the Polish brought out of the land of Egypt? Was the Swedish brought out of the land of Egypt? Were the Russians? Huh? Were they the Africans, the Nigerians, the Kenyans, the people from Saudi Arabia, or Turkey, or Pakistan, or Palestine? Were they brought out of Egypt? I don't think so. It says what?
The whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt.
The Mexicans were brought out of Egypt.
Right.
The Cubans were brought out of Egypt. The Puerto Ricans were brought out of Egypt. The so-called Negroes were brought out of Egypt. Los Negroes were brought out of Egypt. The so-called Native Americans, Nativo Americanos, were brought out of Egypt. The Iroquois, the Creek, the Navajo, the Mohegans, the Mohawkins, we were brought out of Egypt. Go ahead.
Saying, verse 2, you only have I known.
Say what?
You only have I known.
So the Lord only knew who?
You only have I known.
The Lord only knew so-called blacks.
You only have I known.
And the Latinos.
You only have I known.
And the Native Americans.
You only have I known.
And those Puerto Ricans.
You only have I known.
And those Dominicans.
You only have I known.
And those El Salvadorians.
You only have I known.
And those Peruvians.
You only have I known.
And them Costa Ricans.
You only have I
The
known.
Lord only knew so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man.
That's right.
That's who the Lord only knew. Go ahead.
Kawaka. Of all the families of the earth.
Out of what?
Of all the families of the earth.
So out of all the families of the earth, out of all the races and the nations on the earth, the Lord only knew so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Lord just said he didn't know nothing about no African.
Right.
He didn't know nothing about no Nigerian.
Right.
He didn't know nothing about no people from Ghana and no people from Mali or some people from Egypt. He don't know nothing about the people from Kenya or from Polish or from Poland or from Sweden or from Germany.
He don't know the people from Moscow, from Russia, from Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan. He don't know nobody from there. But he only knew so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, who are the children of Israel.
Traitors. Them fucking traitors. Check it out. They say that they was down for the fam, but I disagree. Remember summertime in the van, it was misery. AC never worked, window cracked, I feel the breeze. Guess that ain't mean shit to you, fuck loyalty. They rather be up on with the mama while rolling weed. I'd rather put the love of my brothers over the greed. I'd rather be frontline when I battle my enemies than home on the internet pushing and punching keys. They say that they had love for the camp, but nigga please, we don't need that kind of love, I'ma just keep it G. My heart done got cold on traitors like Mr. Freeze. We just want to show you how I feel to get victory. I'm with I.S.U.P.K, so we ain't really seeing defeat. We battle on the corners, opponents get fricasseed. You side switching niggas, flipping to different teams. Bad mouth, one West, lucky we let you breathe. As mercy from the general told us to let you be. They say he had to go cause in here he ain't getting cream. But really he just hate us niggas like Paula Dean. He leave, now he broke, ain't smoking on nicotine. Copping down some rotten, he strung out another fiend. Since I've been with I.S.U.P.K like I'm living a dream. Pulling up in the 90s long as a limousine. Hopping out with soldiers, you thinking we the Marines. But we the ones with beers, me mugging on magazines.